This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, your one-stop shop for all things horrific and horror-related. Read the reviews, frolic in the forum, hem and haw over the horoscopes, and listen mightily to the Horror Movie Show with Mark and Jerry, your horrible hosts.
Good day, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com. Mark, spit that frog out.
Yeah.
Not allowed to suck on frogs while we record the show. Have a humbug instead.
I wish I had a drink instead.
Yes, that's right. Strong drink. That's what we need. That's what everyone needs, because this is our New Year's Eve show.
Yeah.
So we'll pause a moment. You go and get a drink. We'll just wait here.
Yeah, we'll just drink plenty of beer, and then we'll become more and more irrational as the show begins.
We would sound much more like all the other podcasts out there. Oh, did I say that?
Yes. I think you just did.
I'm a catty little bitch.
Oh, you just dissed them, boy.
Yeah.
Wait till they start commenting on our...
Yeah, that's all right. Nobody's listening to us anyway. We can say anything we want.
Exactly. Happy New Year. But not you.
Yeah.
And you. And you in the corner over there, forget it.
No, not him. But all the girls. All the pretty girls.
Yeah,
we wish them Happy New Year.
Only the pretty ones.
Only the pretty ones. You know who you are.
And the smart ones? Well, I don't know.
Okay, well, enough gay, witty banter.
Yes.
Let's get on with it. We got some movies to talk about, including one that is set on New Year's Eve. We'll get to that later. So, I think this is the last podcast of the year, and we're going to start with The Last Days on Mars. Speaking of last days, this is a 2013 movie directed by Rory Robinson, written by Clive Dawson. It stars the always peculiar looking to me Liev Schreiber as Vincent Campbell, Romola Garai as Rebecca Lane, Canadian actor Elias Koteas as Charles Brunel, and Olivia Williams, the love interest in Rushmore all those years ago, as Kim Aldrich, who is the hard ass of the group.
Yeah, she's a real bitch.
She's a tough one.
There's no...
Nobody likes her.
Yeah.
So this is set on the first manned mission to Mars, and they've been there for months, and this is literally their last 24 hours before they get to come home. And things start going very, very askew.
All when they find some activity out in the field.
Okay, there is activity. In fact, there is evidence of life on Mars, but it's only known to one of the scientists, and he's been keeping it to himself. And what he's done is he's brought something back, or activated something, or woken it up, and things are not going well on Mars.
A spore of some sort is mutating.
Yeah. Don't call it a spore. The next movie we're going to be talking about,
spores.
They talk about spores constantly, and they have no idea what it is they're dealing with. But, spore sounds like an alien sort of word, so they're using it.
Wasn't there a whole movie franchise called Spore or something?
Oh, yeah, there should be. The giant mushroom people.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty good movie. It's a new movie, and I quite enjoyed it. I thought it looked good, although to me, there's been a few good movies set on Mars. Red Planet.
Yeah.
I very much like that one.
This one reminded me a little bit about that.
A little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where they film these things, but they must be in the middle of Colorado or Utah or Arizona somewhere in where they've got a lot of red soil.
Well, who knows what it really looks like, because it's pretty easy to turn everything red with CGI.
This is true. Regardless, this whatever they find in the earth, it slowly takes over their bodies and they become sort of like a zombie.
Yes.
And amazingly like a zombie, in fact.
Yeah.
You die and then you come back to life and you, for some reason, want to eat other people.
Yeah.
No real
the Martians are
reasoning
not nice,
for this.
Nice creatures.
No reasoning for it. You turn dark in color.
Yeah. And you don't look good.
And you become insane. And suddenly you can breathe the atmosphere.
Right.
And you become super strong.
Yeah.
So
As one would.
As always,
Yeah.
always when you die, of course you're going to become super strong.
They didn't go into this too much, but the gravity on Mars is, I think it's like less than half of what it is on Earth.
Yeah.
So as long as you kept your muscle mass, and that lower gravity means that your body works less hard, and so your muscles tend to atrophy if you don't exercise. Yeah, just like a normal man who was able to withstand the atmosphere on Mars would be like a Superman. You'd be able to push cars out of the way and so on because the car
You would also be able to
less.
jump
Yeah, indeed.
a lot further.
Yeah.
They really don't play that portion up.
No, it appears to be just another part of Earth, the way they stomp around and stuff.
So one of them gets infected and decides that it's coming back to the main hub where the labs are.
Yep.
And he wants in. He wants in bad.
Oh, it's not a good idea. Olivia wants to stop him. She's the only one with any sense of the group. And, of course, they all think that she's a cold, calculating monster.
Now, these zombies are kind of intelligent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think they're Martians, yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. They have an agenda. They seem to be wanting to kill all the lab people and then get off Mars.
Go to Earth.
Go to Earth.
Yeah. Well, their planet is dead. You know, Mars at one point was quite possibly lush like Earth is now. But they lost their atmosphere. You know, perhaps it's because the core of the planet cooled. You know, they never had a moon the way the Earth does. The moon churns up the inside of our planet and keeps it nice and hot and liquidy. And
It doesn't have a moon at all?
well, it has no real tectonic action. It has two very, very small moons, but they're
That's what I
negligible.
thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah. No, they're not even round. The moons of Mars are just captured asteroids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they didn't have... And plus, maybe way back then, the sun wasn't as hot, maybe, and the temperatures were a little more...
No, it's the other way. Mars is further out.
Oh, is it?
If it was warmer.
Oh, maybe
Yeah.
maybe the Earth the sun was hotter.
It's within the range of the biosphere if it had a thick atmosphere.
Right.
But the atmosphere on Mars is so thin and tenuous. It's thick enough that they have windstorms and dust storms and so on. We can see those with a good telescope from Earth. But if you were dropped on Mars without a suit of any kind, it would be a race between freezing to death and dying of asphyxiation. Like, you'd probably gasp and choke and feel the cold for a few
minutes.
Well, maybe not even a few minutes, but some long seconds, and then you'd either freeze to death or you'd die of asphyxiation. Mm-hmm. Because it'd be like being on the top of the world's tallest mountain on Earth times 10. It's very thin atmosphere. I thought it was good. Liev Schreiber, I always find him to be an odd-looking fellow with his sort of jowly face, but... he does a good job in this. I thought everybody did a good job. The acting is serviceable. But I still found it a little dull, a little on the slow and boring side.
Yeah, well, what can you do with zombies on Mars?
Yeah. What was John Carpenter's movie? Ghosts of Mars.
Yeah.
And that was about zombies coming out of the ground, whatever, terrorizing the human miners and so on.
I can't remember much about that. I've been meaning to
Much
watch
more
it.
entertaining than this. Much sillier because this, couches itself in scientific fact and what we know about Mars and so on. Ghosts of Mars is just basically, people are walking around on the surface.
Yeah,
like
this
it's a
movie,
western town.
This movie is basically one person gets infected and then it infects another and it goes to another. Next thing you know, you've got 3 or 4 of them running around trying to kill the rest, and the others are trying to survive.
Yeah.
And there's a race to the rocket launch pad, which is not near the lab for some reason.
Yeah. Well, they have little cars and stuff.
They
like
have
that,
these things that are electric cars. Unfortunately,
solar powered.
Not always charged as much as they'd like, and so that they're racing towards the launch pad, and of course they run out of energy.
Yeah.
And there are different.
And they're running out of oxygen too, because a lot of damage is done by the bad guys. A lot of damage is done to the home base. So, they're unable to use this section. They're unable to use this section. They're basically, at one point, they're trapped in the only viable part of the camp that's left, which is the laboratory, which is not set up, for food and drink and oxygen and all that.
Sometimes they have to wait out the night so that they can recharge the batteries with solar.
That's right, because it's all solar.
Yeah. At the same time, some people are running around in the dark. trying to kill them. And it is kind of frightening because they're sitting there and they know that their batteries are running low and they can see in the distance something's following them.
Yes.
And they're coming. They're trying to figure out how to extend their battery life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of it comes down to physics to survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I didn't dislike this movie, but I have to say there was no reason for it to be made. It wasn't original enough. And taking advantage yet again of the feeling of isolation, of being that far from home and help, when it comes right down to the end and it's like, well, there's one guy left. You know?
I found that the trailer made it look a lot more exciting than it really was.
Well, I know that this movie has been held up a lot before its release, and I suspect it's because they've been doing a lot of chopping and changing and probably audience testing and trying to figure out exactly what they can do to make it more entertaining.
Right.
It's a big Hollywood movie. Liev Schreiber is an A-list actor, I think.
He was in Wolverine.
Yeah, and he's something. Yeah, that's right. He was Wolverine's brother. I really like the Elias Koteas character, he's the captain, he's the boss, he's in charge of this mission. It's an international mission. That's right. And they're all represented by their name and their country's flag on the helmet. And when I saw that Elias actually had a Canadian flag on his helmet, I thought, all right, Canadian in charge. What could go wrong?
Everything.
Well, Captain Kirk was actually a Canadian, so it's not as if Canadians haven't been into space before.
Yeah, but they said he was from Iowa.
Yeah.
Liars.
That's a lie.
He was from Quebec somewhere. Or Ottawa area or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's from Ottawa.
Yeah.
Which is nothing to brag about. Okay. Let's move on to our next movie, which is called Stranded. It's also a new movie, and this is a very Christian movie.
You think?
And the reason I say that is the director's name is Roger Christian. His co-writer is Christian Piers Betley. And it stars Christian Slater. I thought that is the oddest coincidence I've ever seen in my life.
And it is a Canadian movie.
3 Christians. Oh, is it? Oh, well,
it's a Canadian movie.
That explains why it's so bloody awful.
What?
So Christian Slater plays Colonel Gerard Braukman. Brendan Fair plays Dr. Lance Krauss, probably the stupidest medical man who's ever lived. Amy Matizio plays Ava Cameron, the one woman on board, and Michael Theriault, which just sounds like a French name, plays Bruce Johns. So it's pretty much these 4 characters all together. And the setup is that they are on the moon, a mining operation.
Right.
But there are various scientists along. In fact, considering it's a mining operation, it seems that they're mostly scientists.
And again, they're at the end of their term.
They have a set term, but they're still only halfway through it.
Are they?
So it's the meteor storm that makes it the end of the mission. Because right at the very beginning, they're absolutely whacked by giant chunks of rock coming out of space and hitting them, destroying various things like oxygen cleaners and scrubbers and stuff like that.
That's right. And that sets up the premise that
now it's time to go.
They have monoxide poisoning.
Carbon monoxide is rife.
And they had to fix the filters for that.
Yeah.
Now, at the beginning of this movie,
this is so stupid, this movie.
I mean, okay. Obviously, other than the fact that they don't seem to realize what quarantine means.
Yeah, no, not at all.
It's like, somebody is infected with something, and yet everybody's touching them.
Yeah, everybody's touching them. Not just touching them,
and they keep talking about
the door keeps opening and closing.
They keep talking about quarantine, but nobody is doing it.
Nobody does it. The doctor says, I can't let you leave. Now, I'll be just down the hall. I'll leave the door open. It's so stupid. This is the movie I referred to a moment ago where they keep talking about spores.
Yeah.
So this woman goes out after the meteor storm to try to... there's only one spacesuit left, so they can't get away. They need a rescue to come in and save them. Because
and plus
their one surviving escape pod is only for 2 people.
Yeah, it can only have 2
4 of them.
Yes.
So they have like a technician, they have a doctor, the woman is a scientist, and they have the military dude Christian Slater is playing.
So you have these 4, and the woman says, I'll do it, and she goes off, and she puts the one suit on, and she goes out, and she's unable to fix it. She comes back in, all hell breaks loose, but she's found this strange rock, and immediately she says, I found a rock, and it's got like some spores on it, and the doctor says, yeah, look, spores! Now
it was a meteor.
Okay, so that's where it just came from.
Yeah.
So it's got this yellow material, and the doctor, like, in the open air, he scrapes some of this out and puts it on a little dish and leaves it on the table so that she can come over and she cuts her finger and then she's poking at it.
Yeah, she's putting it under a microscope. And then they put it in this...
Like it's jam, you know?
Yeah,
she's just like poking at it like it came off her toes.
They put it in this container.
Yeah.
And it starts...
It takes over. It's huge.
It starts reproducing itself. It's like every hour it's doubling its size.
And then within 20 minutes she's giving birth to something, but the doctor is saying, oh, it probably has nothing to do with the spores. It's probably a hysterical pregnancy from the meteor storm or being outside or being a woman.
It wasn't 20 minutes, it was a couple hours.
Well, whatever, but
anyway, yes,
so stupid.
She becomes pregnant, she gives birth to something, and of course they all run into the room.
Yeah.
And again, they don't seem to be aware that, okay, she's no longer pregnant.
Yeah, so something has happened.
And they're not looking for anything that came out of her. Somebody says, I see something in the corner.
Yeah. One guy sees it is in fact bitten by it.
Yes.
A little white child-sized monster.
And this thing can go through the air ducts. Now these air ducts are huge.
And they're sealed off.
This
thing can unscrew the air ducts, get inside, close the cover, and run around, and nobody notices.
And there's they don't hear it.
And she just had like a big pregnant belly on her, and now she doesn't. The other guy says, I just saw it and I got bitten by it.
Yeah.
He's got a big wound on his leg. And
they say, it's a shard of glass.
And the other guys say, well, something fell on you and you cut yourself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why would we possibly think that something weird could have happened after and you brought in this spore or whatever the hell it is, and it's filling this chamber now full of goo.
Yeah. Now, it did get kind of interesting.
Christian Slater used to be a good actor. Like, he was in some good movies.
Yeah.
It's not true anymore.
I was surprised to see him in this. I was really...
It's awful, isn't it?
No, it wasn't.
You don't think this was a bad movie?
I thought it was okay.
One of the worst movies I've seen in a while.
There were some things about this movie that were so ridiculously stupid. And other parts, when the guy was being replaced by the entity...
Yeah.
I was positive that, okay, maybe these guys are imagining these things. Maybe it is something to do with carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right.
Maybe they are being affected by the spores and they are seeing things. But then suddenly the copy of this guy becomes real and everyone sees him. Yeah. And then all of a sudden that's all blown out of the water. And I'm going,
I didn't buy anything except what was literally being shown to us. What was absolutely step by step.
Because there was some doubt in the characters on what they were seeing.
Oh, see, I don't give them any credit at all. The doubt may have been written into the script, but nobody in this movie can act. Christian Slater just stomps around angry the whole movie. That's his whole character.
He's a security
angry
guy. He's a security guy.
He's a security guy who obviously has no idea what security means.
Yes.
None of them does.
No.
And, oh, God.
It was...
The woman cuts herself and gets infected, and that's when she starts swelling up with her pregnancy.
Again, and she's the scientist,
and she doesn't
say anything.
It's so stupid.
They keep saying, "Well, if you feel anything weird, tell us." Yeah. And they all feel something weird, and nobody tells anybody. It's like, how stupid are they? They don't want to ask for help. Let's try to pretend everything's okay.
I was thinking, is this another sci-fi movie? But no, it's just. I don't think this went straight to video. It may have gone straight to DVD. It didn't go straight to TV. But oh my God, Mark, I thought this was just a piece of.
At one point, I thought it was going to be, this whole reality thing.
Well, the first 30 seconds?
No. And then it was like I thought it might be like Invasions of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah. In its dreams.
It's only because they did such stupid things that this is a major fail.
Oh, so stupid.
Whoever wrote it
And directed it.
I don't know.
And acted in it.
I don't know. You kind of shake your head and say, how stupid can you be?
Yeah.
This is supposed to be educated people who are trained professionals, and they do the stupidest things.
Yes, and continuously, and the same stupid thing over and over again.
And one by one, it's like now they're battling this. It's not even the original creature. It's something that made itself a copy of someone, one of the crew members.
Yeah.
And now it's trying to get back to Earth.
All right, let's get on to our next one. I see a movie like Stranded, it just makes me angry because it's so bad. Our next movie is one from 2012. This will cleanse your palate. It's called You Can't Kill Stephen King, directed by a whole team here. Directed by Ronnie Khalil, Monroe Mann, and Jorge Valdez-Iga. Written by Khalil, Mann, and Bob Media. It stars, here's those names again, Monroe Mann, Ronnie Khalil, Crystal Arnett, Cale Blogna, which is very close to Bologna, but isn't, Kate Costello, and Justin Brown as the token black friend. And that is what he's called in the movie. This movie really, really, really wants you to like it, really wants to be clever and funny and a spoof on horror movies, but I found it offensive. It's an intentionally stupid movie. You have guys in their 30s playing teenage virgins, and it really doesn't work. The Ronnie Khalil character, who's cleverly called Ronnie in the movie, he's supposed to be a virgin, and he's desperate to get some sex, and well, they're with 3 women, 2 of whom are quite pretty, and the other is odd looking.
Yes.
The love interest is the oddest looking of them all. Her head's so narrow and her eyes so close together that she looks like a cartoon character. Yeah. Some sort of stick insect. Oh, geez, if I was Stephen King, I would sue them and sue them and sue them again for muddying his good name.
It all takes place in a small little town.
Yeah, it's supposed to be Stephen King's hometown in Maine.
And I think it was actually filmed in Maine.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And these houses are all at the edge of this lake.
Yeah.
They want to meet Stephen King.
Well, one of them does. The others are just there for the swimming and speedboating.
They get into this little town before they get to their cabin, and they go into the restaurant.
Yeah, a cafe.
And they start asking questions. I hear Stephen King's from this area. Have you ever met him? Do you know where he lives? Yeah. And these people are like aliens.
Yes.
They're all wooden, stiff.
Yeah.
What do you want to know about him for? He doesn't like people visiting.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Typical sort of Stephen King characters. Very, very one-dimensional, very unpleasant, cold.
Yeah, it's like
sort of people.
It's almost like rural America are made up of really bad people, hostile, untrusting, unfriendly people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, I've been to rural America. They're a lot friendly.
Everything in this movie is very cliched. I didn't realize until I was making my notes for the podcast earlier today. I didn't realize that the same idiots who are acting in this also wrote it and directed it. I had no idea. There's not one of them seems to know what they're doing. Because it's a bad script, it's badly directed, and it's really bad acting.
Well, these murders are happening. One of them figures out, this happened in this Stephen King novel.
Right.
And that happened in that. So that now the people in the kids in the house are saying, okay, then there's obviously a serial killer that's killing by Stephen King's novels.
Copying Stephen King deaths.
Yeah. They go into the basement of the parents' cabin and they find a whole library of Stephen King paraphernalia and novels.
Yeah.
Why it's there, nobody seems to know.
No.
They find a pop-up book.
Yes, a Stephen King pop-up book.
I don't know if he ever really made one.
Oh, I'm sure there's all kinds of crap like that.
But, I think the writers thought they were being very clever by, putting in
as many references as they could.
Yeah, to his characters in his books, the way they're murdered and things like that. Yeah. And I guess if you're a Stephen King fan and you've read all of his novels, you might go, oh, I recognize that.
But it's so heavy-handed. It's so clumsily done. There isn't anything clever about this movie at all.
No, not really.
No. And it's dull. It's just a boring little movie.
Yeah, that one at a time they're getting killed off.
Yeah.
And you're not sure if it's one of them doing the murdering or not.
Right.
So that's left up to the imagination.
There's plenty of red herrings. There's plenty of, who is it? Who's the bad guy? But in fact, they play fast and loose, and they basically do what they want to further the story without making it logical, without doing it in a clever way.
No.
It's just, okay, this guy turns out to be bad, been suspected all along, and then he was cleared, and, it's just like, well, that's awful dang convenient.
It's a low-budget film. You can tell it's really amateurly done.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole production value is amateurly.
Yeah. And they start at the beginning with these 5 young people. I won't call them kids because they're, as I say, at least a couple of the guys are into their 30s, even if they are playing 20 years old. But as they're driving along, the camera will be on one character and it'll freeze for a moment and it'll give you like a cartoon writing underneath describing that character. So Lamont is described as their token black friend. The main character's sister is described as a cold, attention-seeking bitch, and so on and so on. And oh, jeez.
Yeah, they did a lot of that.
And they never developed the characters beyond those one-sentence descriptions of them.
Yeah.
That's how bad the writing is.
Yeah. They tried to be clever.
They did, yeah.
But they didn't pull it off.
No, they didn't. They failed miserably. Okay, we got a big budget movie here. Now, I've got the year wrong in this, because this wasn't a 2013 movie. The Frozen Ground, written and directed by Scott Walker. Do you have any notes on that, Mark? Did I screw that up? I can't believe that it's a brand new movie.
I think it is.
Is it? Okay. You have Nicolas Cage as Jack Halcombe. He's a cop. John Cusack as the villain of the piece. Vanessa Hudgens, cute little thing, as Cindy Paulson. She's a victim of Cusack's maniac who got away. Dean Norris, we all know him from Under the Dome, and he was the brother-in-law in Breaking Bad. Radha Mitchell, who plays Nicolas Cage's wife in this movie. You know her well from a lot of movies. Pitch Black was the first time I really noticed her. Oh my goodness. Her character alone. So Nicolas Cage is obsessed with this one case, and it's like his last case because he's about to retire, which is always what they do in these movies. Yeah. So the pressure is on him, and of course it's way more complicated. And
they're in Alaska, and actually they shot it in Alaska as well.
Sure. Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
Now, it's based on a real story.
It's supposed to be a true crime story, yes.
Yeah. Nicolas Cage character has a suspicion that this Robert Hansen, who lives in the town,
the John Cusack character,
is a serial killer.
Yes, and he got away with that. He was arrested once, and they couldn't press charges, so he got away with...
The movie starts with a girl that actually gets away from him. Oh. And she blows the whistle on him, and nobody in the town wants to believe her because John Cusack is such a member of the society up there that he is so well thought of that nobody will believe her story.
Well, he's got his butt covered. That's the Vanessa Hudgens character. She escapes his clutches. He's a busy serial killer, the Cusack character, Robert Hansen. He's always got a girl on the go. He keeps his family sort of, he tells him he's traveling, whatever, and he's...
Going hunting.
Going hunting, that's right.
He does a lot of hunting.
Because he does. He likes to hunt them after he's raped them and tortured them for a while.
A couple of weeks.
He flies his own plane, so he bundles them onto his private plane and he takes off and he lands. It's a water plane, seaplane, and he lands and he sets him off into the woods and gives him a chance to start running, and then he hunts him down with his high-powered rifle.
Yep.
Not very sporting.
No. You would think that hunters would at least give them a bow and arrow. Or
fighting chance.
Or something. It's based on real events. At the end of the movie, they do show real pictures of the victims and things like that. Mm-hmm. The reason why nobody believes this one woman was abducted was because she's basically a hooker.
Yes, and a drug addict.
She wasn't a good person in society, therefore nobody took her seriously. And it wasn't until the Nicolas Cage character come to suspect that there's a serial killer running around, that he believes in her story.
He
tracks her down and is trying to get her to
cooperate. But she's already been screwed around, and it's not doing her any good, so why should she?
Yeah.
And she, in fact, is so miserable and so sad that she's basically trying to kill herself the whole time. And of course, she takes a job stripping in a peeler bar there in Juneau, or whatever the city is they're in. Danged if John Cusack doesn't come into the bar one night and they see each other, and now she's running for her life because he's got to silence the witness against him.
Now, that's the thing that kind of got to me. The fact that everybody thought he was such a nice guy, yet he frequents peeler bars, and nobody would have noticed him there because it's a small town.
I'm trying to remember, where do you get this idea that he's well thought of?
He went to court
he was charged
from her accusation, and everybody that Nicolas Cage talked to said, nah, he's a nice guy. He contributes to the city. He does all this charity work, and they just think the best of him, right?
It went past me. I don't remember that. Of course, more and more and more bodies keep being uncovered because he's dumping them in the woods, and they freeze, and animals are digging them up and chewing on the bodies, and so they're finding bits and pieces, incomplete skeletons, that sort of thing. As of course these lunatics, and this has happened all over the world. I know here in British Columbia we've had our own maniacs who do that, and they pick up girls hitchhiking on lonely northern roads and kill them and dump them. And it's just hideous, and quite often they are prostitutes and so on, and it's a shame in our society, but the cops often don't give the due to these women as they would to, a nice middle-class mom.
There's a pig farmer out in the valley that
right near here.
Was killing off prostitutes, and all the prostitutes were pointing at the guy, and they wouldn't take them seriously until
he was torturing them and killing them and feeding them to his pigs. Yeah. And for all I know, I ate some of that pork because he was selling the meat to local chains and so on.
And you feel much better for that?
I'm disgusted, but who knows? It's but definitely, there are monsters out there.
John Cusack plays a really creepy character. I've seen him play creepy characters before.
Yep.
But both Nicolas Cage and him were in Con Air.
Yes, that's right.
And the roles reversed. Nicolas Cage was the con, and Cusack was the guy trying to catch him.
Well, in fact, Nicolas Cage in that movie is a good guy who was jailed, because he did the right thing. It's John Malkovich is the big criminal in that.
That's true.
In that movie,
that's true.
And in fact, Cusack and Cage are on the same side
at a certain point.
Yeah. Well, Cage just wants to get back to his wife and child. He's been a model prisoner, and he's about to get out. He's on his way to be released, and then all the crap goes down because Malkovich is being transported to serve out the rest of his life in jail. So his people try to break him out, and all hell breaks loose, as I say.
So in this movie, Nicolas Cage is trying to get enough evidence against John Cusack character.
So there is detective work going on as well. It is definitely more of a thriller than a horror movie. But, so is Silence of the Lamb. So we'll include that.
It does show some of his murders. So how he hunts them down.
Yeah, but he's so much the same. That's the horrible thing. He does the same thing to every one of these women.
Yeah. He's so calm about it that they don't. I don't know why they would get into the plane with him in the first place.
Yeah. Well, no, he doesn't start in the plane. He starts in his car.
No, I know, but but by the time he's taking them away after he's tortured them for several weeks. Right. And he's taking them into the boonies, and they're not fighting for their life.
Well, it's the Stockholm Syndrome. You cooperate because he hasn't killed you so far, and you hope that if you continue to cooperate, that
and I think they
won't kill you.
Part of it is the fact that he's so calm about it.
Yeah. I think it could be classified as sort of desperate trust. Yeah. There's not much they can do. They certainly, if they try to fight against them, they know that he's going to knock him out. So, they go along, but of course he's never going to let anybody go. Right. He just doesn't tell them that. He lies to them all the way along.
Yeah. It's a very low-key movie. It's not a... Yeah, you mentioned it. It's a thriller, but it's really not a thriller. It's a real slow-paced...
It is.
Very slow-paced, kind of an analytical kind of movie.
Yeah. Okay, we got one more for this episode. It's a low-budget movie. distributed by our friends at Broken Glass Pictures. 2013 movie set on New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's called Antisocial, directed by Cody Callahan, written by Callahan and Chad Archibald. It stars Michelle Milet as Sam, Cody Ray Thompson as Mark, Adam Christie as Jed, Anna Alec as Caitlin, Romaine Waite as Steve, Rye Barrett as Chad. I think there's only one Chad. Yeah, the names all sound the same to me. And Laurel Brandeis as Tara. You want to describe with the plot, Mark?
This is a weird movie. It's got to do with these 5 university friends, and they're having a New Year's party.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened.
It's going to be a big party, but people don't show up for a good reason.
They all are a member of an online social...
A la Facebook.
Called Red...
An app. Red Door. Something
anyway,
like that.
And it seems that anybody that logs on to it lately is being affected.
Mm-hmm.
Something in their brain is triggered, and they become killers.
Yes.
But nobody knows where it's all stemming from. They all know it started in a certain blog.
Right.
These 2 girls on a blog, and they're all watching these 2 girls, and they see that one suddenly attacks the other and kills them on a live broadcast.
Now, I don't think that happens, yes, but that wasn't the first occasion. That's just the most dramatic, like that one happens online. But it's happening all over the place, like it's widespread. The idea is that it's like Facebook, and they're coming up, that is, the developers of the Facebook-like app are coming up with secret, sort of subliminal viruses that they can infect your brain with and make you keep coming back over and over every day, spending, your every waking moment online. And they've just tried something new, and it's really supposed to, make you buy the products they advertise or something, but instead it's gone horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And now people are turning into
So
maniacs.
one by one, all the people in this room who are experiencing what's happening outside through their laptops and things, and cell phones and texts and things like that. And one by one, they're all getting crazy. Yeah, they're all logging into this site, and they're being affected.
It's also important to note that at the beginning of the movie, there's one guy who never goes on. He's just never been a member.
And one girl just
quit. One girl has just quit, so she hasn't seen the latest version. And everybody else is like in different degrees of going mad. And of course, with the computers going now on in the background, everybody is potentially at risk for seeing it, even the people who've never even been on it once.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to watch out for that Facebook.
Well,
They'll suck the life out of you.
That's what I'm thinking. Social media is bad. It's a bad thing.
Now, I quite like this movie. It's very, very low budget, very little movie. I thought the acting was done well written, well directed. Maybe a little unclear here and there, but overall I enjoyed it as a thriller. I thought it was a pretty good slasher sort of movie.
I mean, brainwashing in itself is a very difficult thing to do.
Yes, indeed.
And this manages to do it in seconds.
Yes.
It's not very realistic.
No, it is a tad science fiction-y. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's almost like a virus again, except for this time a computer virus.
And it gets into your brain.
And it's like your brain is a computer.
Yeah.
And it's somehow biologically affected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To the dark side. Why didn't they make them happy instead, right?
Really, yeah.
Want to do nice things for people.
That was the idea. And a movie I just rewatched, Firefly.
Yeah.
Based on the Joss Whedon series.
Firefly.
Oh, the movie is called Serenity, the ship, right? Anyway, in that movie, of course, the maniac zombie space loonies, the crazy people out there, they were affected by a drug that was given to everybody on the planet that was supposed to make them happy and docile.
Yeah.
But in 10% of the population, it had the exact opposite effect and turned them into raging killing machines.
Right.
And that's where the loonies come from.
But that's chemical.
Yeah.
I can't see doing...
No, but I'm just saying it's a similar sort of plot device. It's not an original idea.
No.
But using Facebook to create a mass of zombies is sort of interesting.
Yeah. Were they zombie-like?
No, I mean
they were
they're
just
crazy.
Yeah, they just went insane. They just became bloodthirsty.
Mm.
And for some reason, they wanted to kill anybody close by.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, can you get that?
Good fun.
It's an interesting thought, and the fact that the people that had designed the website realized their mistake and were trying to fix it.
But they were going crazy themselves.
They didn't quite get to it.
No. And that's right. And somebody was going to shut down the whole app, but wasn't able to do that. They were murdered, whatever, just beforehand. So anyway, I would recommend it. Not going to give away the ending here because it's well worth seeing. I think we're going to wrap up this episode.
New Year cheer.
Yes, lots of cheer here. So the movies we talked about, Last Days on Mars. Would you recommend it, Mark?
It's watchable. I would say it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's not nothing fantastic, but it's okay.
No. Okay, it is much, much better than Stranded.
Stranded would have been good if it made sense, but it doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's the stupidest characters in smart jobs ever.
It was well made. It's just
how can you say that? It's so chintzy.
No,
it's all in one room. They just shoot it from different angles to make it look like different
there was
rooms.
more than one room.
Well, they have a corridor.
They had 2 different sections to the whole thing. Remember, they had to get from one section to the other?
Yeah, but they're just dressing the 2 sections.
Well, they are on the moon.
I think it's made in a garage.
I think it was made on the moon in real time.
I wish they'd been stranded on the moon.
If it wasn't just such bad writing, it would have been okay.
Oh, I disagree. Everything is bad.
Production qualities was fine.
Typical Christian production. Roger Christian Piers Betley, and Christian Slater. It's amazing.
The 3 C's.
Yes,
C cube.
The holy trinity of bad movies. You Can't Kill Stephen King. Would you recommend it?
No.
I'd recommend it if you wanted to get wasted with your friends and laugh at a bad movie. But it makes no sense. It has no consistency, just like Stranded, and it's not well acted. That's my opinion. I'd say those are both stinkers.
Stranded was, I think, better acted than You Can't Kill Stephen King.
Oh, yeah, all right. I won't argue because when you're dealing with zeros. The Frozen Ground has a professionally made Hollywood-type movie.
Very depressing.
Very depressing, yeah. Nicolas Cage doesn't overact the way he often does. He's sort of kept under wraps. And John Cusack is one of the most understated maniacs ever.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
The reason why he was such a good maniac in real life, the character, was the fact that he wasn't emotional.
Oh, well, that's what they always say. Oh, he was such a nice, quiet man.
Yeah,
never any problems.
Exactly, yeah. And that's why that's why he got away with all the murders.
All right, and then the last movie we just talked about, Antisocial. I'd certainly recommend it.
It's not bad.
Yeah, good little low budget horror movie.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, so we're going to wish you a Happy New Year one more time.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. And
forget it. If you're not wasted by now, you.
And we'll see you next year.
Yeah.
Let's see.
We're going to start our 4th year?
Yeah, going into our 4th year. Our next episode, we'll be talking about Ender's Game, just to alert you to that.
That's been out for a while, but we finally got to it.
We got to it, yeah. All right, folks, so it's so long from Jerry.
And have a good New Year for me.